Ferguson. I was just thinking about it this morning and I scared myself. I scared myself because I get back with Sir Alex the best part of nearly 50 years. Nearly 50 years since I was that wee boy and he was manager at St Mirren, and picked myself up and we headed over to Paisley for a bit of training and he dropped me off after it. Happy days. Good morning. How are you?
Great, see you doing things going.
You good, Bob?
I've got to say to you, I said to myself this morning, I go, you're one of the few men where I go up early, have a shave, and put a jacket on and make sure my hair was alright. What I was are you good for?
Thank you.
It's so we're doing this.
We're heading through there. That's exactly what we're doing. Well, joining me this morning is none other than Sir Alex Ferguson. First of all, Sir Alex, how are you?
I'm good, yeah, thank you.
Good form?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say to you, you're obviously still keeping very busy.
The last 11 years, I'm more or less do with that, do
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah?
It's
good enjoying it.
So I enjoy it. Yeah.
I've got this book here. Yeah, I'm going to open up. There's a couple of nice pictures in it. I thought of a lovely one to refresh. I mean, look at this one, right? This here, right? This is you, the man who shook Rangers. But I want to ask you, the question I want to ask you, as you can tell us about that occasion, right? But what I want to ask you is this. What would Sir Alex Ferguson, the manager, thought of Sir Alex Ferguson, the player?
I thought it was a good player. I thought it was
What were your strengths?
fighting.
I was going to say.
No, I was
You weren't scared to mix it, no?
I was a try and it was a decent goal scoring record, you know. And the problem for me as a player, really, was down to the fact my dad would never let me go full time because I was an apprentice toolmaker. So you're not going full time until you do your time as an apprentice. So that was 6 years of my life, really. So I was part time at Queen's Park and part time at St Johnson. And then when I finished my time and the years as a journeyman, I got the opportunity to go to Dunfermline. Just the summer after I scored that hat-trick.
Yeah.
So that changed my life.
Yeah.
It changed my life in many ways because I wasn't doing well having to travel by train every Tuesday and Thursday to Perth, getting home at 1 in the morning, up at 6 to go to work. It was killing me.
Mm-hmm.
And then on that Friday night, I got my brother's girlfriend to phone St Johnson saying that the flu.
Great.
And I'd taken papers out to go to Canada.
You're going to Canada?
I was ready to go to Canada, yeah.
Immigrating, obviously,
all the Fergusons are in Canada.
Wow.
There was hundreds of them. So I phoned Mandy Isabel because you needed a sponsor.
Yeah.
And she said, have you spoke to your dad? I said, no. He said, do you want me to phone him? I said, no. Leave it now. Scored the hat-trick this day.
And that was it?
Unbelievable. It's changed my life. But it was a break in my life. And I always say this to people, don't miss the good opportunities. And that was the opportunity I needed. I met Kathy a month later and my life changed.
Brilliant. Well, your life also changed when you decided you wanted to coach and wanted to manage.
Yep.
Did you always, you clearly always had an interest in playing, but did you see yourself as a kind of scholar of the game very early?
Absolutely. At that point in my life, I made up my mind I would never go back to engineering. No chance.
That early?
That year I was 22. And I started doing all the coaching badges. I got my full badge the second year, the B licence, then the A licence. And I started going to the coaching schools every summer. I went to Willis Hall, and there was a great old manager there called Jimmy Siddle.
I remember him,
Yeah,
Sheffield.
he was the manager of Notts County. And he says, you want to be a manager, son? I says, well, that's what I'm intending to do. He says, well, I'll give you a bit of advice. Don't let the buggers' contracts go to the same year. because you're knackered.
Aye.
And the second thing is always buy players who play every week.
What's amazing.
Available for selection.
Gaff, that's... And Walter must have got that from you. Because Walter used to say to me, when you're signing a player, make sure he turns up for his work. And by that, he meant he wasn't in the
Playing every week.
Aye.
Yeah, exactly.
And it seems such a simple, simplistic thing to say, but how correct is it?
That's 100%.
What about St Mirren? Was it an obvious next step for you?
Well, St Mirren gave me a guide. At East Stirling, I was only there for a month. I tried to develop local kids, you know, to train, coach them, and as a stepping stone for East Stirling to have a youth policy. But I was only there for a month. But then I went to St Mirren, and they were really part-time. And it's the biggest town in Scotland.
Yeah.
They were struggling. And I said to the board, well, the best, because there wasn't any money about to do anything about it. I thought that coaching was the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we coached young players, yourself at 14 years of age, Steve Cowan.
Yeah.
We were all young players, and we did really well in terms of preparing young players to play in the first team. And I think 4 or 5 became internationals.
Yeah. I remember that team came on the scene, Gaff. It was a kind of young, the generation.
It was,
and it grabbed the imagination of everybody, didn't it?
But the benefit for me was this. We won the league the next year, and we won it in the most fantastic style. We had to beat Dundee at Dundee in the second to last game. We won 4-0 up at Dundee. It was fantastic. Stark and McGarvey were running amok. It was unbelievable. So there was a real enjoyment. Yeah. And then Aberdeen wanted me. There was no way I was turning it, because I turned them down the year before.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Birmingham took a job.
Yeah.
And then he left to go to Celtic.
Yeah.
So I took the job at Aberdeen. Oh, fantastic.
Well, I want to show it. It's my next picture. Right, there you go. I'll show that to the camera as well. 1980, right? Premier Division. What you achieved up at Aberdeen was, in my opinion, absolutely remarkable. The domination that Rangers and Celtic had for the best part of 40 years. I mean, how do you break that stranglehold?
Well, when I was a player at Rangers, and I left under, you know, with a cloud of it, but you know, I took out of the, I never left in my whole life, expectation. Everywhere I went, there was expectation. Creating an expectation for the players, for the fans, because your job really is to get footballers who send fans home happy.
It's amazing that. It's amazing that. And just to back that up, I was lucky enough, as you know, to play with Rangers for the best part of 15 years. And I didn't appreciate the expectation till I went somewhere else where there wasn't as great expectation.
Of course, yeah.
And what you try and do is try and get those expectation levels up wherever you go after that.
Right.
So I understand that.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing, expectation, isn't it?
It really is,
It can drive you. So, incredible period at Aberdeen, Gaff. Now, that team effectively won a Cup Winners' Cup in Gothenburg. One of the greatest achievements, in my opinion, for a British football team. Genuinely. What a team you had. You know, my old school pal, primary school pal, Eric Black getting one of the goals. I think people tend to forget. Brilliant result in the final, clearly beating Real Madrid. But I'll never forget Pittodrie night you beat Bayern Munich.
No, the 3-2 game, yeah. But it was a great side, and beating Bayern Munich gave us the impetus. And when we got to the final, and I said to Archie, with a certainty.
It's amazing that.
Archie says, for Christ's sake, don't tell anybody that. And you know, we're the last football club to beat Real Madrid in the final.
That's what is it, 40 years?
Yeah. And we actually battered them.
Yeah.
It went to extra time, I don't know how, but we actually battered them.
Also, if I may, you also had and it is an honour, a great honour, of managing the country at a major tournament. I'm thinking about '86 World Cup, where obviously due to unforeseen circumstances you got the job. Tell me what that felt like. Was it in any way, shape or form, did you treat it differently to club management? I mean, it clearly is different to club management. Or did you try and take the same principles with you into that particular tournament?
Well, I tried to approach it to give them as the best chance we possibly could. I went down to see Ralph Ramsey, and he was living in Ipswich. He'd also retired, and the first thing he said was, "Take your own water," because they suffered with
1970.
the goalkeeper.
1970, wasn't it? Huh?
1970, yeah. And he was very helpful.
Yeah.
My biggest problem was strikers.
Don't you mind? I think you'll find in the 98-6 World Cup, that was my biggest problem with strikers. No, your biggest problem with strikers.
Man, it really was a problem. So I was hanging on how Archibald was.
Yeah.
And he hadn't played all season. He was with Barcelona, and I said, I've got to take him, because I thought he was a marvellous player.
Yeah.
And I also picked Kenny, and then Kenny withdrew with injury.
That's right.
Which was only a week before we were going away. I decided to take Graham Sharp, because I thought he's different for the rest.
Yeah.
And I left yourself out.
Yeah.
That was one problem.
Yeah.
The big problem I had whilst we went there, I had so many Aberdeen players.
Yeah.
And I felt sort of what will the players think if I pick all the Aberdeen players?
But is it not natural? You would go for players that you know
and
haven't let you down.
Yeah.
Surely that's a natural thing, is it not?
No, it preyed on me anyway. You know, it doesn't matter how you look at it, it preyed on me.
Right, Gav, I'm moving on now. After that, look at this.
Oh, a handsome guy.
Yep. Off to Manchester United, right? Which, at the time, it must have been a kind of pinch yourself moment. But because of your success at Aberdeen, did you have any other options than Manchester United, or was it pretty straightforward?
Well, I turned down Arsenal, I turned down Wolverhampton Wanderers, and I turned down Tottenham.
Right, and the reasons for that?
Well, the reason is that Dick Donald said to me one day, he says, and I said to him, maybe it's time for me to leave and blah, blah, blah. He says, don't talk like that. He says, you've got a great setup here. You should only go to one club. And I says, who's that? He says, Man United.
There you are.
That's what Dick Donald says that to me.
It's amazing.
So I never budged till that came along.
And once it came along, pretty straightforward decision.
Absolutely. Oh no, it was couldn't get it quick enough.
And what was your initial thoughts, first couple of weeks moving into Manchester United?
Well, I would have to say there was a lot of trepidation about it. So travelling down that morning in the plane with Martin Edwards and the lawyer Maurice Watkins, I was asking a lot of questions and I wasn't actually getting all the answers.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. And we Gordon Strachan used to phone me quite a lot, and I didn't get a great picture out of that. You know what I mean? But so I knew that I knew all the players. I mean, they're world-class names in many ways. But I was determined to install what I believed at Aberdeen and that was to produce young players. I thought that was the best way to go. And plus the fact, I had all this evidence of Matt Busby. He was the greatest manager of that time. And what he did for Manchester United is amazing.
Well, you mentioned Dick Donald there, and it's a theme throughout, I think, your career. People that you look up to and are thankful for their help and guidance. You mentioned Sir Matt, I imagined Martin Edwards, Sir Bobby Charlton as well were there. Bobby
Charlton, different class.
Aye.
Wonderful man. Sir Matt was terrific, you know, that if I went to Old Trafford during the week, I could smell his pipe.
Yeah.
You know, and he'd be wafting up the stairs. And I was going for a cup of tea with him, and he was great. But Bobby Charlton was fantastic with me, honestly. He's wonderful. We used to go to the games together, and I said to him this day, I think the best Scottish team would have been the best English team. And he laughed. He says, how do you work that out? I says, well, Law and Dalglish up front. And he says, what about Duncan Edwards? I said, oh, okay, we'll forget it. We've talked about it before.
It's funny, because we've done it as well. We pick our all-time British team, and I go, right, Law and Dalglish, that's the forward sorted, right? But as I mean, it's a great, the arguments and discussions. But you won, I think the first trophy you won with the Cup, 1919. There's obviously a story, Mark Robbins scoring the goal and all that. So what do you remember about, I think it might have been your fourth season then you won the Cup. Did that feel, not so much a weight off your back, but you know, it must have been, well, you used to winning things at this point, Aberdeen.
That particular December, we went through the whole December 8 games, never won a game. You know, and of course with the press play a part in all these things. I'm afraid that and it's no nice to read it. And Matt always said, don't read the papers. Don't read the papers. And I did that in that particular time. So the cup tie against Notts Forest was going to be huge because Clough's teams were arguably one of the best cup teams.
Yeah.
But the thing that won us that day, because we had a few injuries, the thing that won us that day was the fans. They were defiant. They were absolute out of this world. And they were urging us on all the time. You couldn't help but smell the opportunity of it, you know. And they played well, the team.
Yeah.
And 1-0 was well justified, you know, we played really well. And the winning goal was Sparky outside his foot. I waking up the night and seeing that outside his right foot, curled around. And the funny thing about Mark Hughes was he was a big game player.
Aye.
But he was a fantastic crosser of the ball. Unbelievable crosser of the ball. See if he drifted out wide the left foot,
delivery on.
right foot, 100%. So Mark Robbins scored that winning goal, and every game after that was away from home.
Yeah.
And we won the cup.
It's amazing.
And it does make a difference. Makes a difference to the players, to the club, the ambitions, everyone else. It just grew after that.
It's amazing. I want to show you a picture, another picture. It sums up football for me, this. And I think it was your first championship. Here we go, man. What a picture this is. 1993. Look at that. That sums up for me.
Sheffield Wednesday.
Sheffield Wednesday. Look at Kiddo on his knees, new in the touchline.
Yeah.
For me, that just sums up football. Passion, everything. Relief, a release of tension. You obviously remember that occasion.
Oh, after the game, Trevor Francis was manager.
Trevor.
And he came into my office and says, you scored in the second leg.
That was
8 minutes injury time. So I says, well, actually waiting with me, you know. And I went home that night and watched the game. You know how many minutes it should have been? 15 minutes.
I knew you'd go the other way.
15 minutes. Because
I bet you were pleased when they blew the whistle and didn't play the extra time.
He never, no chance. Just as soon as we scored that winning goal. Anyway, the referee get injured. The referee got injured. Yeah, and he was carried off.
You should have been on and taken the whistle.
Oh, I did after that. the Wednesday came on, there was what subject? There was 50 minutes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And there's another one I want to show you, which, I mean, this was unbelievable. I don't care. One of the most, and when you beat Bayern Munich, you beat Bayern Munich to lift the Champions League. Was there at any point during that game you thought it's gone?
It's easy to say this, but a homework won is a game. So when the analysis of Bayern was on big games in particular, they used to take the two wide players off and go a tight midfield. So with not having Keane and Scholes, I had to gamble in my midfield, and I wanted to make sure we had a passing ability, and I decided to play David Beckham in centre midfield along with Nicky Butt.
Yeah.
Nicky do all sorts of jobs, they're marvellous. And I played Giggsy wide right and Blomqvist wide left. And it didn't work in the first half at all. And I was waiting for them to make a substitution. So the minute they made the substitution, I went 3 in the middle and 3 up. And I brought on Teddy Sheringham and I said, Teddy, you go and play on top of the right centre back, try and pull the right back in. The right back was Babel.
Yep.
You know? And with Giggs playing in the left midfield, it was really suited to him because he was running off the space all the time. And Beckham, the right hand side, started getting crosses in. In the last 15 minutes, we made a lot of chances. But having said that, we could have been out. We could have been out long before. The crossbar, they missed a couple of chances. And Schmeichel made a couple of terrific saves.
I mean, I still watch it and I think,
That's amazing.
It really was amazing.
Yeah.
That side, I tell you what, it did have an abundance. I know it's skill and talent, but it's spirit, It's spirit.
Oh, but the perseverance. We never gave in.
Yeah.
And that's the quality that great teams always had. You know, we had that for years. The ability. At the end of the day, when you look at my career at United, it's encapsulating the leagues and all that kind of. But it's also about myself and the team. We were second in the league 6 times and won it next year.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that is.
6 times second and twice in goal difference and won the league next year.
I don't know.
So yeah. So it tells you what that club was about, what these players were about. And that was not just one set of players. That was going back to the 94, 95 team, tough as nails, to a really talented team in 2008 with Tevez,
what team?
Ronaldo and Rooney up front. They were unbelievable.
Well, what was the big difference between those sides then, effectively? I mean, there's clearly a lot of similarities, as you've mentioned. What would you think were the difference between those two great sides?
Well, the 94-95 team was basically an English team with Schmeichel, you know.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of foreign influence. By the time we came to 2008, we had quite a few foreign players in it, you know. The game had changed. The game had changed.
And did they get it, Gaff? Did they get it as soon as they came?
100%. No problem. Every foreign player, every European player would come in, adapted right away. And they also, it's a funny thing, they probably looked upon Company United bigger than anything, because the reputation of the club had grown. You know, there's no question. People say it's the biggest club in the world. We've, you know, the club of this probably got 1 billion fans all over the world. You know, it's that kind of club. It's got a romance about it. Obviously created through the Munich air disaster. Yeah, it's a lot to do with it, but it's also a lot to do with the challenge when any player comes to the club. The challenge is huge, and when you get success at that club, it's fantastic.
You clearly worked with far and away some of the best. Robbo, Cantona, you mentioned Tevez, obviously Ronaldo, just unbelievable talent. Now this is a kind of strange. Did you treat them all the same, or within reason did you have to do things accordingly?
Well, everybody thought Robbo was my son because he never got criticised. I don't really believe that, but anyway. No, I think that the most important thing for me as a manager is to be consistent. Yeah. So the players, the staff, everybody recognised the man coming in that door every morning. I never changed. Yeah. I had the same principles all the time, the same discipline code all the time, and the same attitude towards staff in particular all the time. I never changed. So I made it easy for everybody to feel comfortable with that, you know. 26 years brings a lot of benefits, you know. Right, Gaff, I want to take, if I may, the title in 2013. Right. Right. 100%. Clearly, everything and every trophy would mean a lot to you, right? But just how much did that one mean to you? Well, Kathy's sister died in the previous October, and she was lost. She was definitely lost. So in Christmas, I said to her, look, I'm going to retire at the end of the season. And I knew with her reaction, she was delighted. Because she wasn't her own. And she'd given me her life to everything about me was her looking after me, you know, because of my job and, you know, and bringing the kids up. So when I says I'm going to retire, I knew she was delighted. I knew that. I could tell by her body language, and that was. And I always said, when I got to January, what I did every January 1st, I wrote down every year our opponents' games, where I think points could be won or lost, and I put us down to win by 10 points. Did you really? I did. The team was playing really well. I thought we'd do that, but it was, I think it was 11 points. So they did really well. The team played really well, and Van Persie was fantastic. Aye. His goals, his thrust in the game, his power and his confidence, you know. Yeah. I think my record, the is fantastic. But also, what really made me was losing games. If I lost the cup, I lost a few cup finals. Do you know that? I lost a few, and I can every cup final I lost, I could go right through every minute. How we lost it.
Is that one of the signs of greatness? Remembering the defeats more than the victories.
100%. That's the thing that should drive you on. I was always, the next day after I lost, I was better.
Yeah.
The players knew that too, by the way.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The dad during the road, we're going in that corridor, all getting in different rooms. But
well, I'm sure I'm speaking for everybody when I say thank you for all the memories. And there's far more memories of you lifting trophies and doing good things than there is losing 1 or 2 cup finals. Thanks for your time, Gaffer. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks very much,
Thank
Ali.
you.
Thank you.